"It hurts, it's my first time," she said. The rancher froze and replied, "It'll be over quickly." The ground was dotted with strange, bioluminescent plants that pulsed faintly in rhythm with the wind. The air smelled sharp and metallic, tinged with a faint sweetness she couldn't identify. Mara adjusted the straps of her field pack and took a deep breath, trying to steady herself. "This is it," she whispered, almost to herself. Beside her, Ryden, the rancher who had agreed to guide her, was already scanning the terrain. He was a tall man with a weathered face and calm eyes, the kind that made people feel safe even when the world around them seemed hostile. His hands rested on the edge of his multi-tool, ready for anything the planet might throw at them. Mara's voice trembled slightly as she spoke. "It hurts, it's my first time." Ryden froze for a moment, then glanced at her. There was no judgment in his expression, only quiet understanding. "It'll be over quickly," he replied, his tone steady. "Trust me." She nodded, though her heart was racing. Mara wasn't talking about physical pain in the usual sense. She was referring to her first attempt at interacting with Kayla and life, specifically the creatures she had come to study. These beings were unlike anything humans had encountered. They were partially telepathic, sensitive to emotions and physically delicate, yet surprisingly intelligent. Even the smallest misstep could cause them stress or fear. As they walked toward the grazing field, Mara felt the tension in her shoulders ease slightly. The rancher's calm presence was reassuring. She had studied alien biology in books and simulations for years, but nothing could have truly prepared her for this. The real, living, breathing creatures that pulsed with a quiet, nervous energy beneath the alien suns. The first group of Kalar and grazers came into view. They were about the size of Earth's horses, but with long, slender limbs and semi-transparent skin that shimmered in the sunlight. Their large, dark eyes reflected curiosity and caution, and their movements were smooth, almost gliding across the ground. A soft hum seemed to radiate from them, faint but unmistakable, vibrating in the air and through the soles of Mara's boots. "They sense you," Ryden said, nodding toward the nearest creature. "Stay calm and they'll calm too." Mara swallowed hard and took a step forward. The creature's eyes widened and the hum intensified, sending a strange tingle through her chest. Her first instinct was to step back, but she remembered Ryden's words. Instead, she inhaled deeply, letting her pulse slow. "Focus on your breathing," Ryden advised quietly. "They feel your emotions. If you panic, they panic." Mara closed her eyes for a moment, imagining a gentle wave of calm spreading from her heart to her hands. When she opened them, she extended her hand slowly toward the nearest Kalaran. The creature hesitated, then tilted its head, studying her. Mara's fingers brushed its soft, luminous hide. A sudden pulse of sensation surged through her mind: curiosity, confusion, a tiny flicker of fear. It was not painful exactly, but strange, almost like touching an electric current that was alive. She gasped softly. "It's strange," she admitted, voice barely above a whisper. Ryden chuckled. "Strange is good. It means they trust you enough to share." Over the next hour, Mara followed Ryden's guidance, learning to move with patience and subtlety. She began to understand the rhythm of the creatures' thoughts, their gentle curiosity, and their quiet intelligence. She realized that humans were uniquely equipped to bond with them. No other species she knew of could handle the constant emotional feedback without becoming overwhelmed. Humans had something rare: resilience combined with empathy. The sun climbed higher, warming the strange, glowing landscape. Mara marveled at how the Kalaran grazers moved together like a single organism, coordinating without sound, each aware of the other's intentions. It reminded her of herd animals on Earth, yet completely alien in the details: bioluminescent skin, telepathic signals, and movements that seemed almost liquid. By midday, Mara's confidence had grown. She was learning to anticipate their reactions, to soothe them when a sudden gust of wind startled the herd, and to guide them safely toward shaded areas. Each success was small but exhilarating, and for the first time, she felt she belonged in this alien world. "You're doing well," Ryden said, watching her from the edge of the field. "Most newcomers can't handle more than a few minutes. You've been at it for hours." Mara smiled, though she was exhausted. Her fingers tingled from constant contact with the creatures, and her mind buzzed from the flood of alien thoughts and feelings. Still, she felt alive in a way she had never experienced on Earth. As the afternoon wore on, a sudden wind gust swept across the plains. The Kaleran grazers froze, their hums rising in intensity. Mara felt a wave of panic from the creatures and realized she had to act quickly. She reached out, sending her own calm energy toward them, focusing entirely on slowing her own heartbeat and steadying her mind. Slowly the herd relaxed, their hums softening as her presence reassured them. Ryden's eyes gleamed with pride. "That's it. You're learning to communicate on their level. That's what makes humans special. You can adapt." Mara took a deep breath, feeling a surge of accomplishment. The first painful, confusing sensations she had felt were no longer frightening. They were a bridge, a way to connect with life that no one else could. She realized that humans had a unique advantage in this galaxy. They could understand, adapt, and empathize in ways that no other species could. As the twin suns began to set, painting the sky in shades of orange and violet, Mara and Ryden guided the herd toward the shelter of a canyon. The Kaleran creatures moved smoothly, following her lead without fear. Mara felt a deep sense of connection, not just with them but with the frontier itself. Kalara was wild, unpredictable, and beautiful, and she was ready to face it. Ryden looked at her and nodded. "Your first time is over," he said gently, echoing his words from the morning. "And you did better than I could have hoped." Mara laughed softly, the sound light and free in the alien air. "It hurt, but not in the way I thought," she admitted. "It was amazing." The rancher smiled, a rare, unguarded expression. "That's how it always starts. The first time is always the hardest, but once you understand them, you realize it's worth every moment." As night fell over Kalara, Mara sat beside the grazing creatures, feeling the gentle hums reverberate through her chest. She was exhausted but exhilarated. She knew this was only the beginning. The planet was vast, filled with challenges and wonders, and she was ready to face them. For the first time, she understood what Ryden had meant. Humans were capable of thriving in ways that other species could not. Their resilience, empathy, and courage made them uniquely suited to explore the unknown. And as she looked up at the stars above the alien world, Mara felt a spark of pride. This was her frontier, and she was ready to conquer it. The next morning, Kalara greeted Mara with a sky painted in pale pink and gold. The air was fresher than the previous day, and the strange scent of the bioluminescent plants felt almost comforting now. Mara stretched, her muscles still stiff from the long day with the Kaleran grazers, but a spark of excitement filled her chest. Today, Ryden had promised, she would learn more than just how to calm the creatures. Today, she would start forming a real bond with them. "Ready for your second lesson?" Ryden's voice came from the edge of the canyon, calm and steady as ever. He had spent years on Kalara, learning the ways of its strange wildlife, but he never seemed tired or overwhelmed. Mara envied that calmness. "I think so," she replied, brushing a loose strand of hair from her face. Her voice carried both nerves and excitement. Ryden nodded and led her toward the grazing herd. The Kaleran creatures had sensed their presence and began to stir, their soft hums rising like a chorus. Mara paused for a moment, letting the vibrations wash over her. The hums were faintly musical, almost like a heartbeat from the planet itself, and she realized she could start predicting the movements of the herd by listening. "Remember," Ryden said, crouching beside her, "it's not just about touch, it's about feeling them. You have to let your emotions guide them, not your hands." Mara took a deep breath, letting the idea sink in. It was harder than she thought. Her natural instincts wanted to act physically, to guide them with hands and tools. But Kilara required patience, empathy, and subtle communication. She stepped forward slowly, her eyes on a small Kalaran with soft, green glowing patches along its sides. Its hum was nervous, anxious, as if it had sensed her uncertainty. Mara closed her eyes for a moment, reaching inward. She pictured calmness, warmth, and understanding, sending it like a gentle wave toward the creature. To her amazement, the creature's hum softened, its eyes tilting toward her with something that almost felt like curiosity. Mara extended a hand, not touching it but letting the energy flow. Slowly, it stepped closer. "You're doing it," Raiden whispered. "See. You don't need to force anything. They're responding to you." Mara felt a thrill of pride. The creatures weren't just animals, they were intelligent, emotional, and incredibly sensitive. Humans had something that allowed them to reach across species, to connect in ways machines or even other alien races could not. And Mara was starting to understand that connection. For hours, she practiced with the herd, learning to read their hums, their subtle movements, their telepathic flashes of thought and curiosity. She realized that the Kalaran grazers weren't just reacting, they were learning from her, adjusting their own behavior to match hers. "Humans have this advantage," Raiden said during a short break, handing her a water canister. "You can empathize in ways other species can't. You can adapt emotionally and mentally to almost any situation. That's why humans survive." Mara nodded, feeling a deep sense of pride. It wasn't arrogance, it was understanding her species' unique role in the universe. As the day wore on, the true challenge arrived. A small, jagged hill blocked part of the grazing field, and beyond it, Mara noticed a group of young Kalaran grazerlings struggling to navigate the rocky terrain. Their hums were higher pitched, a mixture of fear and confusion. Mara's heart clenched. She could feel their panic as clearly as if it were her own. Raiden looked at her and smiled. "This is your moment. You've learned the basics. Now try guiding them yourself." Mara swallowed hard. She had never attempted something like this before. But she remembered the calm, steady feeling she had shared with the herd yesterday. She closed her eyes, letting that feeling expand. Her mind reached out to the grazerlings, sending reassurance, patience, and encouragement. At first, they trembled, unsure. Then one by one, they began to move toward her guidance, their small limbs navigating the rocky hill more confidently. Mara felt her chest tighten with joy. She was not just controlling them, she was communicating, a silent bond formed through empathy and trust. By the time the sun was high overhead, Mara had led all the grazerlings safely to softer ground. She was sweating, exhausted but exhilarated. Raiden clapped lightly, pride shining in his eyes. "You did it," he said. "You didn't just guide them, you connected with them. That's the real skill, and it's something humans do better than anyone else." Mara's cheeks flushed with happiness. For the first time, she truly understood what he meant. Humans were explorers not because of strength or weapons, but because of their minds and hearts. They could bond, adapt, and empathize with creatures and environments that seemed impossible to manage. The afternoon brought new lessons. Mara learned to anticipate the herd's needs before they even reacted, noticing subtle cues in their hums and postures. She discovered how to use the planet's strange plants to her advantage, creating temporary shade or guiding pathways for the grazers. She began to see patterns in the alien ecosystem, patterns that seemed chaotic at first but revealed themselves to human intuition and patience. "You see that?" Raiden said, pointing to a small grove of glowing plants. "Most people would walk past, but you notice the difference in color and orientation. Humans can detect patterns and adapt quickly. That's why you're valuable here." Mara smiled, feeling a rush of confidence. She had spent years studying alien biology from books and simulations, but nothing compared to experiencing it firsthand. Every heartbeat, every hum, every subtle shift in light and movement was teaching her something new. As the day came to an end, Mara and Ryden guided the herd to a shallow valley where water pooled in a natural basin. The grazers drank and settled, their hums softening into contented murmurs. Mara knelt beside one of the smaller creatures, gently resting her hand on its glowing side. "You trust me," she whispered, almost in disbelief. The creature nudged her hand softly, a silent affirmation. Mara felt a warmth spread through her chest. This was the connection humans were meant to form, with life, with nature, with the unknown. Ryden sat beside her, watching the interaction quietly. "You've learned more in one day than most people learn in a week," he said. "You're starting to understand what it means to be human out here." Mara tilted her head, curious. "What do you mean?" Ryden smiled faintly. "Out here on the frontier, it's not strength or technology that counts most. It's resilience, empathy, and adaptability. Humans have all three in ways other species don't. You're not just surviving, you're thriving. And that's what makes us special." Mara thought about his words as the twin suns dipped lower, painting the valley in soft orange light. She felt a deep sense of pride and purpose. This planet, with its strange creatures and unpredictable weather, was challenging. But humans had the ability to rise to those challenges in ways others could not. That night, as Mara lay in her small tent beside Ryden's, she reflected on the day's lessons. She thought of the hums of the grazers, the warmth of their trust, and the strange, electric feeling that surged when she connected with them. It had been overwhelming at first, almost painful, but now it was exhilarating. She understood what Ryden had meant by her first time. The pain was not something to fear. It was a doorway to understanding, a spark that allowed humans to connect with life in ways other species could not. Mara closed her eyes, feeling the energy of the planet hum softly around her. She was tired, but her mind buzzed with excitement. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, and she was ready. Kelara was alive, unpredictable and wondrous, and she, a human, had already begun to thrive here. As sleep overtook her, she dreamed of the herd, their soft, glowing bodies moving in perfect harmony, and she felt a deep sense of belonging. For the first time, she understood that being human meant more than just survival. It meant connection, resilience, and a unique ability to face the unknown. And Mara was ready to prove it. The morning light on Kelara was soft and cool, filtering through the haze that had settled over the grazing plains. Mara woke to the gentle hums of the Kalaran herd, a sound that now felt like a heartbeat she could trust. Her muscles were sore from the previous day, but the soreness carried pride. She had learned to guide the creatures, to calm them, and to understand their strange telepathic signals. Ryden was already outside, examining the horizon. "We have a challenge today," he said without turning, his voice calm but firm. "A storm is moving in faster than the scanners predicted." Mara's stomach clenched. She had read about Kalaran storms, powerful gusts of wind, sharp rain, and flashes of energy that could unsettle even the hardiest of creatures. Yet there was no panic in Ryden's voice. That was one thing she had learned quickly. Humans did not panic. Humans adapted. "We'll move the herd to shelter before it hits," he continued. "And you'll lead some of the smaller ones. Think you're ready?" Mara nodded, her pulse quickening. Today would be her first real test, not just bonding with the creatures, but protecting them under pressure. The herd stirred nervously as dark clouds rolled over the horizon. Mara felt the anxious hums in her chest, a flood of fear and confusion from the grazers. Her own heart raced, but she remembered what Ryden had taught her. Calmness was contagious. She closed her eyes for a moment, drawing in a deep, steadying breath, and then let the feeling radiate outward. Slowly, the herd's panic eased, and they looked to her for guidance. "Good," Ryden said. "Keep sending calm. You'll be amazed at how well they respond." They moved as a unit toward a rocky canyon that offered shelter from the storm. Mara guided the smaller grazers, holding her hands out to calm their anxiety and feeling the subtle vibrations of their thoughts. Every step was a test of patience and empathy, and every success reinforced the connection she had begun to form. The first gust of wind hit suddenly, strong enough to make Mara stumble. The larger grazers braced against it, but some of the younger ones faltered. Mara extended her energy toward them, a wave of calm and reassurance, and whispered, "You're safe. Follow me." One by one, they steadied themselves and continued toward the canyon. Mara felt a surge of pride. Humans could not only adapt, they could lead, and she was beginning to understand how much responsibility that carried. But the storm was faster than expected. Lightning flashed across the sky, illuminating the glowing forms of the herd. Mara's heart skipped a beat as a particularly strong gust toppled a small tree across the path. The young grazers hesitated, their hums rising in alarm. Raiden acted swiftly, holding the obstacle in place with a portable energy shield. "Quick, Mara, lead them around." Mara took a deep breath and guided the herd through a narrow gap in the canyon walls, using her calm energy to keep them focused. It was difficult. The wind howled and the rain began as a fine mist that quickly turned into sheets, but the creatures trusted her. That trust was a bond, invisible yet strong. Halfway through, Mara noticed one of the smaller grazers struggling to keep up. It had a faintly damaged limb from a previous encounter with the rough terrain. Its hums were frantic, a mixture of fear and pain. Mara knelt beside it, letting her hand hover above the creature. "It's okay," she whispered. "I'm here. We'll get through this together." For a moment the little grazer froze, trembling. Then slowly it followed her guidance, matching its steps to her calm rhythm. Mara felt the warmth of connection between them, a deep, resonant energy that seemed to flow from her to the creature and back again. Humans could do this. No technology, no alien species she had studied could achieve this kind of connection. It was uniquely human. The storm raged around them, but Mara's focus never wavered. She felt the pulse of the Kalar herd, anticipating each movement, each reaction. By the time they reached the canyon shelter, soaked but unharmed, Mara realized she had just survived her first true crisis on Kalara. Raiden clapped lightly, the sound nearly lost in the roar of the storm. "You did it," he said, his eyes gleaming. "You kept them calm. You led them through chaos. That's something no one else could do." Mara sank to the ground, exhausted but elated. She had faced fear, uncertainty, and the raw power of nature, and she had prevailed. She had not only survived, she had protected and guided the herd. The humans' resilience, creativity, and empathy had made the difference. As the storm passed, Mara and Raiden inspected the shelter. The canyon had protected the herd from the worst of the wind and rain, but the terrain was treacherous. Rocks had shifted, and some of the grazers had minor scrapes. Mara moved among them, offering comfort and reassurance, feeling the subtle vibrations of their emotions. She understood now why humans were considered exceptional explorers. "You see what I mean," Raiden said, watching her. "Other species might panic or freeze, but humans, we adapt, we connect, we survive, and we thrive." Mara nodded, feeling a deep sense of pride. She had faced her first real test, and she had passed. But Kalara was vast, and she knew challenges like this would come again. Each day would be a new test of resilience, empathy, and ingenuity. As evening fell, the storm's aftermath revealed the strange beauty of the planet. Rain droplets clung to the bioluminescent plants, making them glow brighter, like stars scattered across the ground. Mara walked among the herd, feeling the pulse of the creatures, hums in harmony with the dripping light. The planet had tested her, and she had risen to meet it. That night, as she lay in her tent, Mara thought about the storm. She remembered the fear she had felt, the rush of energy from the herd, and the intense focus required to guide them. And she realized something profound. Humans were not just survivors. Humans were leaders in chaos, beings capable of empathy and creativity that allowed them to conquer challenges no other species could. Raiden sat outside her tent, staring at the stars above the canyon. Mara joined him, wrapping herself in a warm blanket. The twin suns had set, leaving the sky dark but alive with distant constellations. "You handled it well," Ryden said. "Most people would have frozen or worse, but you led. That's what humans do best." Mara smiled softly. "It was scary," she admitted, "but I felt connected. I think that's what made it possible. They trusted me and I trusted myself." Ryden nodded. "Exactly. Trust is the key. Humans can trust and empathize in ways others can't. That's why we survive in places like this." Mara looked at the herd in the canyon below, their glowing bodies calm and safe. She felt a deep sense of accomplishment, but also excitement. This was only the beginning. Kelara had more to teach, more to test her on, and she was ready. The night was quiet except for the soft hums of the grazers and the distant echo of dripping water. Mara closed her eyes, letting the energy of the planet fill her mind. She had faced her first storm, her first true test, and she had emerged stronger, wiser, and more connected to the world around her. Humans were more than survivors. Humans were adaptable, resilient, and capable of forming bonds that could overcome fear and uncertainty. And Mara was living proof. As sleep claimed her, she dreamed of the herd moving gracefully across the plains, their glowing bodies weaving through the storm, guided by human hands and heart. She understood now that Kelara was not a place to fear. It was a place to grow, to explore, and to thrive. And Mara was ready to do all three. The storm had passed, leaving Kelara bathed in the soft, amber light of early morning. Mist hovered over the grazing plains, and droplets clung to the glowing plants, making the landscape shimmer like a field of stars. Mara stretched, feeling the lingering ache of yesterday's storm, but the exhilaration of surviving and leading the herd still pulsed through her veins. Today, Ryden promised, she would explore beyond the grazing fields. "Ready for the real adventure?" Ryden asked, his voice carrying that same calm confidence she had come to rely on. Mara nodded eagerly. "I think so. What's out there?" Ryden pointed toward a jagged ridge at the far end of the valley. "There's a place few humans have gone. The grazers avoid it, but I think it's time you see it for yourself." As they approached, Mara noticed a subtle change in the terrain. The soil was softer, more fertile, and the plants glowed with a brighter intensity. Strange, vine-like flora climbed the jagged rocks, twisting in impossible spirals, and Mara could feel a faint pulse emanating from them. The air itself seemed alive, vibrating in rhythm with the ground. "This place," Mara whispered, off-filling her chest. "It feels alive." Ryden nodded. "Kelara has many secrets. Some of them reveal themselves only to those who listen carefully." Mara moved closer to the ridge, guided by the herd, whose hums were soft and curious. The creatures clearly sensed the unusual energy in this part of the planet, and their movements were slow, cautious, yet strangely eager. Mara could feel their excitement, and her own pulse quickened. As they reached a narrow plateau, Mara spotted something extraordinary. A cluster of glowing structures, partially hidden behind vines and rocks, shimmered faintly in the morning light. They were small, dome-like formations, made of what looked like living crystal, and they emitted a subtle hum that blended with the grazer's vibrations. "What is that?" Mara asked, stepping closer. Ryden's eyes gleamed. "It's a hatchery. Kelara's life forms reproduce in ways we don't fully understand. Few humans have ever seen one up close." Mara approached cautiously, feeling the energy radiating from the structures. It was intense but not threatening, almost like a heartbeat. The Kaleran grazers moved alongside her, their hums harmonizing with the mysterious vibrations. Mara felt a deep connection, not just with the creatures but with the planet itself. "This is incredible," she murmured. "It's alive, but in a way I've never seen before," Ryden nodded. "Most species would panic or flee, but humans can observe, understand, and interact without fear. You can form bonds that others can't." Mara knelt beside one of the smaller dome structures. The hums were stronger here, more distinct, as if the hatchery itself were communicating. She extended her hand, and the energy pulsed gently in response. At first she felt only a faint vibration, but soon a clearer sensation emerged: curiosity, patience, and something resembling recognition. "It's aware," Mara whispered, astonished. "It knows we're here." Raiden smiled faintly. "Yes, and it's responding to you." Over the next hour, Mara explored the hatchery under Raiden's guidance. She discovered clusters of eggs, their surfaces glowing softly. Some vibrated lightly, responding to her presence and energy. Mara realized that the Kalaran life cycle was deeply connected to emotional resonance. Creatures here could sense feelings and respond accordingly. Humans, with their empathy and emotional depth, were uniquely capable of interacting with them. "This is amazing," Mara said, moving among the structures. "No machine, no alien species could understand this. Only humans could connect like this." Raiden nodded. "Exactly. That's why humans are explorers. We don't just survive in strange worlds. We understand them in ways others cannot." As Mara carefully observed one of the glowing eggs, a soft vibration pulsed through her hand. She instinctively responded, sending warmth and reassurance. The egg shimmered brighter, and she felt a wave of connection, a momentary exchange of energy that left her breathless. It was a bond, subtle yet profound, and Mara realized that she was witnessing the birth of a new Kalaran life form. The herd remained nearby, calm and observant, their hums blending with the vibrations of the hatchery. Mara could feel the creatures' trust and curiosity, and it strengthened her own confidence. She understood now that humans were capable of more than exploration. They could guide and nurture life in ways others could not. "Come," Raiden said, motioning to a path leading deeper into the plateau. "There's more to see." Mara followed, her eyes wide with wonder. They arrived at a shallow basin filled with glowing liquid, its surface rippling gently. Small Kalaran offspring floated within, their tiny bodies shimmering like miniature stars. Mara felt the delicate pulse of their thoughts, curiosity, recognition, and something that resembled joy. "They're aware of us," Mara whispered, "even at this stage." "Yes," Raiden said, "and humans can communicate with them on this level. You're seeing it firsthand, the way empathy and understanding allow us to interact with life forms in ways no one else can." Mara knelt beside the basin, letting her hand hover above the liquid. She focused on sending calm, nurturing energy, and the tiny creatures responded, moving closer to her presence. The sensation was overwhelming but not painful. It was exhilarating, a connection that transcended words and senses. Hours passed as Mara explored the hatchery, guided by Raiden and accompanied by the herd. She learned to sense subtle shifts in energy, to anticipate the needs of the young Kalaran, and to communicate without touch. Every interaction strengthened her bond with the planet and its creatures. She realized that Kalara was more than a frontier world. It was a living, breathing ecosystem that responded to care, understanding, and respect. As the twin suns began to set, painting the plateau in shades of orange and violet, Mara sat with Raiden, watching the glowing hatchery. She felt a deep sense of awe and humility. The planet had revealed its secrets to her, not because of strength or technology, but because of her human qualities: empathy, patience, and understanding. This changes everything," Mara said softly. "We can help them thrive, guide their growth, and maybe even learn from them in ways no one else can." Raiden nodded. "That's the human advantage. We're not just survivors, we're connectors, mediators, explorers, and you've proven that today." Mara smiled, feeling a mixture of pride and responsibility. She understood now that humans were uniquely equipped to interact with life forms that other species might fear or avoid. Their ability to empathize, adapt, and communicate gave them an edge that was invisible but powerful. As night fell, The plateau glowed softly, a tapestry of bioluminescent plants, glowing eggs, and serene grazers. Mara lay back, letting the energy of the hatchery wash over her. She was exhausted, but her mind was alive with wonder and possibility. Humans were not just visitors on Kalara. They were guides, nurturers, and partners in the life of the planet. Mara felt a deep connection, not just to the creatures she had come to care for, but to the entire ecosystem. And she knew that her journey had only just begun. The hatchery hummed softly, a gentle resonance that Mara felt in her chest. It was a reminder that life on Kalara was delicate yet resilient, strange yet familiar. And humans were capable of understanding it, shaping it, and thriving alongside it in ways that no other species could. Mara closed her eyes, letting the energy of the plateau settle around her. She had faced her first storm, formed bonds with the grazers, and now witnessed the miracle of Kalaran life in its earliest stages. She understood something profound. Humans were special. Their empathy, intelligence, and resilience were not just survival tools. They were keys to thriving in the universe. And Mara was ready to embrace them all. The next morning, Kalara awoke under a sky of soft gold, the twin suns climbing slowly, casting long shadows over the plains. Mara stirred in her tent, her body sore but her mind alive with excitement. Yesterday's discoveries had left her in awe. The hatchery, the glowing eggs, and the young Kalaran grazers had revealed the depth of life on this planet, and she felt a profound connection to every pulse, hum, and glow around her. Ryden was already outside, examining the herd. His calm presence was steadying, a reminder of all she had learned so far. "Ready for the next step?" he asked, glancing at her. Mara nodded. "Yes, what's next?" Ryden smiled faintly. "It's time you lead them beyond the plateau. There's a valley on the other side that few humans have explored. I want you to guide the herd there, using everything you've learned." Mara's heart raced. This would be her first solo expedition across the alien terrain, a true test of everything she had practiced: empathy, leadership, and adaptability. The herd stirred around her, their glowing bodies reflecting the early sunlight. Mara felt their hums, their thoughts, their subtle curiosity and trust. She took a deep breath, letting calm energy radiate from her. "Follow me," she whispered, stepping forward. The herd followed without hesitation, their movements synchronized, guided by her quiet assurance. The journey across the plateau was breathtaking. Strange plants swayed gently in the wind, their bioluminescent glow dimming in the sunlight but still faintly visible. Mara felt the pulse of the land beneath her feet, subtle vibrations that reminded her of the storm she had faced days before. This was her world now, and she moved through it with a mix of respect and confidence. Halfway to the valley, Mara noticed a disturbance ahead. The ground trembled slightly and the herd stiffened, their hums rising in tension. Mara slowed, scanning the area. A narrow canyon blocked their path, jagged rocks lining its edges. The wind funneled through it, creating a low, vibrating hum that resonated with the grazers' own frequencies. "They're nervous," Mara murmured, feeling the spike of anxiety from the creatures. Her heart beat faster, but she forced calm into her mind and out through her presence. "It's okay, we'll go through it together." The grazers hesitated, small steps faltering. Mara knelt briefly, letting her hands hover over the nearest ones. "Trust me, I'm here. We'll move slowly together." Ryden watched quietly from the side, letting her take the lead. Mara had learned that humans did not just react, they guided. Slowly, the herd began moving through the canyon, step by careful step. Mara felt their tension ease as she maintained her calm focus, the pulse of empathy bridging the fear between species. Once through the canyon, the valley opened before them, vast and lush. Mara's breath caught. The land was alive with strange creatures grazing among glowing plants. Streams of sparkling water wound through the valley, and the air was thick with the scent of alien flora. She could feel the life around her, vibrant, complex, and harmonious. "They've never seen this valley before," Mara whispered. "Neither have I," Ryden nodded. "Most humans never will, but you're ready." Mara guided the herd toward a gentle slope where the grazers could rest. She knelt among them, feeling the subtle hums, the gentle vibrations of trust. This was a place of discovery, a reward for patience, empathy, and understanding. She realized that humans' unique qualities, emotional resilience, creativity, and adaptability, were what allowed them to thrive in such environments. As they settled, Mara explored the valley, discovering small alien creatures she had never encountered before. Some were timid, hiding among the glowing flora, while others approached cautiously, sensing the calm energy emanating from her. Mara extended her hands, sending reassurance, and watched as the creatures responded, moving closer without fear. "This is incredible," she said softly, marveling at the diversity of life. "Humans, we can connect with this world in ways nothing else can." Ryden's voice came from behind her. "Yes, we're not just survivors, we're explorers, teachers, and guides. Our empathy and understanding allow us to bridge worlds that others can't." Mara smiled, feeling the truth of his words deep in her chest. She realized that Kelara was not a challenge to conquer, it was a partner to learn from, a world that required care and respect. And humans were uniquely equipped to engage with it fully. As the day progressed, Mara led the herd to the valley's central stream. The water glimmered under the twin suns, and the grazers drank deeply, their hums calm and content. Mara knelt beside one of the young Kaleran grazers, watching its reflection ripple in the water. She extended her hand above its glowing body, and it nuzzled gently against her palm. "You trust me," Mara whispered, feeling a deep warmth. The creature's response was subtle but undeniable, a shared acknowledgement of connection. Mara knew now that humans were capable of more than survival. They could nurture, guide, and protect life in ways no other species could. Ryden joined her at the stream, watching the interaction silently. "You've come far," he said. "Most newcomers can barely manage a day with the herd. You've led them, calmed them, and helped them discover a new valley. That's exceptional." Mara felt pride swell in her chest. "I just followed what you taught me and listened." "That's the key," Ryden said. "Listening, observing, understanding. Humans excel at it. We can read a situation, adapt, and respond in ways others cannot. That's why we thrive where others fail." The sun began to set, casting the valley in a warm, golden glow. Mara sat beside the herd, feeling their soft hums vibrate in harmony with her own heartbeat. She reflected on everything she had experienced on Kelara, the storm, the hatchery, the bond with the grazers, and now this valley of life. Each challenge had taught her something new. Each interaction had deepened her connection with the planet and its creatures. Mara realized that humans were not just explorers. They were partners in life, capable of forming bonds that bridged species, understanding ecosystems in ways no one else could. The journey had revealed not only the wonders of Kelara, but the extraordinary capabilities of her own species. As night fell, Mara lay back on the soft grass, the twin moons rising above the horizon. The valley glowed faintly under their light, a living mosaic of plants, creatures, and flowing water. Mara felt a profound sense of belonging. She was no longer just an observer, she was part of this world, connected in ways that transcended language or touch. Ryden settled beside her. "You've done well," he said quietly. "Kelara will remember you, and humans are remembered everywhere they go, not because we dominate but because we connect." Mara smiled, closing her eyes. She could still feel the soft hums of the grazers, the gentle pulse of the planet, and the subtle vibrations of the new creatures she had encountered. She realized that humans had something unique, the ability to thrive in harmony with life, to understand and nurture in ways no other species could. "This is just the beginning," she whispered. "There's so much more to see, so much more to learn." Ryden nodded. and we will. Humans are explorers by nature. We adapt, we grow, and we thrive. That's why we succeed where others might fail. Mara looked at the horizon, the glowing valley stretching endlessly before her. She felt a sense of pride, not just in herself, but in her species. Humans were capable of greatness, not through brute strength or advanced technology, but through empathy, intelligence, and the courage to face the unknown. As she drifted to sleep under the alien sky, Mara dreamed of new horizons, of uncharted valleys, and of countless creatures waiting to be understood and guided. She felt the pulse of life around her, vibrant and resilient, and she knew that humans had a place here, not as conquerors but as partners. And Mara was ready. For the first time, she understood the full meaning of being human on Kelara. Humans were explorers, leaders, and caretakers, capable of thriving in worlds that others could only fear. And with each step she took, each connection she forged, she proved that humans were not just survivors. They were a force of understanding, compassion, and resilience in the universe. The valley hummed softly under the twin moons, a living testament to life, trust, and the extraordinary potential of humanity. Mara closed her eyes, a smile on her face, ready for all the wonders tomorrow would bring. Kelara was no longer just a frontier. It was home. And humans were ready to shape its future, not with force, but with heart, mind, and courage.